there's no Messiah. And you're it, 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 and you're it. We're all it, and I'm it. Now, that is not an original thought on my part. It is the title of a book that I've recently read, written by the senior rabbi at New York City's Upper West Side largest temple. Rabbi is the one that's saying this. And the longer version title of my talk is There's No Rabbi, There's No Messiah, and You're It. And in love, practicing acts of Tikkun Olam, repairing the world as Messiah that we all are. Reverend Carol Lund quotes Aristotle when she says, this idea of the Messiah existed among the ancients and was from the beginning of the human race. She goes on to say that the roots, I get shivers when I say this, the roots of truth run deep. The Greek word for Messiah, and mind you, this was the word before Jesus ever came on earth, was Christos. Christos. And it means the anointed one. And it means someone who is here with a special mission. In our Unity Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, the definition of Messiah is to be endowed with an important mission. Messiah is a universal theme in many spiritual traditions. In traditional Christianity, the Messiah comes from the heaven, Jesus returns from the heaven in a great apocalypse, and the people who believe in Jesus, not anybody else, but who believe in Jesus, and haven't been sinning, they get to go up to heaven, and the people who haven't and haven't been bad, they go down to hell. That's traditional Christianity. That is not our unity theology. Thank God. The Muslim... You're right. The Muslims believe that Jesus was a great prophet of God, and they look for Jesus' second coming. The Buddhists look for Maitreya Buddha's appearance on earth. The Hindus look for Kalki, the final avatar of Vishnu. The Taoists look for the coming of the messianic figure Li Hong. That's fascinating. Many of these different beliefs came into human consciousness globally at a time when there was no commerce to spread the word. The idea came from somewhere, maybe the divine. And it came into our human unconsciousness globally and then into human consciousness. This idea of a Messiah. And the form is different based on the culture from which it originated. And in Unity, we embrace diversity. And I love to think of all the different spiritual, because we're all made in the image of God, so whatever people choose, that's right for them. And I like to think of the different spiritual traditions as fingers up to the hand of God, by whatever the name that is. And underneath this idea of the Messiah is archetypal. That means it's universally in the human consciousness. The Jewish people have been waiting for the Messiah since the beginning of time. And yet the author of this book, Robert Levine, says that after years of Hebrew, biblical, and Talmudic and many other studies and praying, he says there is no need to yearn for some transcendent figure who will do for us only what we can do for ourselves. Another difference between traditional Christianity and Unity is that traditional Christianity believes in a God out there, maybe up in heaven, and that because of Adam's fall from Eden, as Adam's descendants, we're all born in sin, and that God up there sent Jesus down to be crucified to atone for those sins. Well, we don't believe that in unity. We believe that God is out there, but everywhere. In the earth, and the trees, and the creepy crawlers, and the animals, and all the plants, and the air we breathe, everywhere. In fact, that spirit, that divine, in the air we breathe is as close as the tip of our nostrils. Inspire means to take in spirit, in spiritus from the Latin, inspire. And that because we're made in the image of God, we have all of that divine inside of us. A place of God consciousness with all the powers of God. Love, imagination, power, discernment, understanding, zeal, illumination, faith, life and vitality, divine order, wisdom, and strength. Woo! With all that inside, what else do we need? We are it. And other than to know how to connect with that place of great power and great love, that's what we need. And further, unity theology says that Jesus came to earth to show us how to live a human life with all of its complexities from that divine place inside. Now, Jesus needed to experience the whole human journey, so he was born as a little baby, and he had to discover in himself the way to connect with the divine. You know, he didn't, as a little baby, he didn't know, oh, I'm going to connect with God to show people how to do it. He had to discover this for himself. And again, the way we connect is that Christ consciousness inside, and again, remembering that word was there before Jesus was ever born. So, in unity, Jesus is not the Savior of sinners, but rather he's our way shower. Unity's co-founder, Charles Fillmore, says that Adam, Eve, and Eden and the relationship with God happened in the ethers, not here on earth, in the ethers, in a much higher vibrational place than the earth plane. And because God did not create robots, who would want that? He gave us free choice, and Adam made a choice. And Adam's fall was down into this material reality. So in these bodies, in this denser material plane, it became harder for Adam, and consequently for all of us humans, to remember that Eden connection that we had with the divine, with God. We forgot what it was like to be home. So Jesus came to show us that even in our dense physical body, we can, as he did, still connect with our divine home through that Christ consciousness. And his last moments on earth before he ascended, he said to all the disciples, and that gets handed down to all of us, I came to show you the way to do that. And you can do all these things that I have done and even greater. And the disciples did, in fact, go about doing all those things, healing, speaking, making the world a better place. I mean, when you consider that Jesus, and I'm not saying he's the only great person on earth, but he had a 3-year mission, and he is still his teachings are still alive and strong today through those disciples that spread the word, with a lot of challenges and most of them put to death eventually. So he came to show us that even in our dense body, we can do that. Unity minister Reverend Carol Lund says, it has taken over 2,000 years, but the memory of who we truly are has begun to grow. And many of us are now remembering our divinity, our spirituality, and that we are cosmic beings finding our way home. So as we remember our divinity, we remember what all the great masters, the Buddha, Mohammed, Confucius, and others taught. Many years ago, I had the blessing of attending a year-long mystery school with a really great spiritual teacher. And for 1 weekend a month, for 9 months, we immersed ourselves in a different spiritual tradition. We heard the theology, we danced the dances, we ate the food, we did personal exercises. And as I began to reflect on that near the end, I thought, what do all these things have in common? What they have in common is some version of love thy neighbor as thyself. It's about love. When I first heard those Hebrew words, Tikkun Olam, I fell in love with those words, deeply, deeply in love with the energy of that. And I'm going to ask you, Tikkun Olam, on 3, I'm going to ask you to please say those words with me. We're going to say them 3 times. And let them reverberate in your body on 3. 1, 2, 3. Tikkun Olam. A little louder next time. Tikkun Olam. And now, soft and sweet. Tikkun Olam. Those words mean to repair the world. And don't we live in a world that needs repair? I can hardly bear to watch the news these days, and I know I'm not alone. Tikkun Olam, to repair the world. Isn't that what Jesus did? That Messiah who told us we could do these things too. And Confucius and Mohammed, and today the Dalai Lama. And Jesus and all these holy people emphasize that we have to start with repairing ourselves. I heard a speaker, a black woman, Friday night, and I'm not going to remember her name, but she said that to begin to repair our world, ourselves inside, is an act of political subversion. And that in order to love others, we need to be able to stand in the mirror and know and love ourselves. And the Dalai Lama is a great model for this. I once heard someone interview the Dalai Lama. I heard it on a radio show. And they said, well, how much time do you meditate a day? I'm lucky if I get in 20 minutes. And the Dalai Lama says, 4 hours. And the person goes, oh, and what do you experience during those 4 hours? And the Dalai Lama says, oh, rage, jealousy, hatred, ego. And Jesus had times when he was troubled because he lived this challenging human life too. And he would take the time alone to repair himself by connecting with the divinity with himself that he called Father. And we can call that divine place Sophia, or Grandmother Earth, or Nirvana, or the cosmic field. It doesn't matter. The point is we begin repairing ourselves, releasing negative thoughts like, oh, well, I can't be, there's no forgiving or forgetting my past. I'm just not good enough. And to remember that we're all evolving. Unity embraces the idea of reincarnation, and it'll probably take me 100,000 lifetimes to do what Jesus did better, but okay, we start where we are. Sometimes these small acts of kindness for others is also healing ourselves, repairing ourselves, and helping us to know that indeed we are the Messiah. And we begin by repairing the world, each person we encounter, to whom we are drawn to offer a kindness, situation by situation, group by group. We start where we are. 2 things I remember. One is I was a working single mom with a heavy-duty job and had to get my daughter to school from from Chatham County over to the Carolina Friends School in Durham, in the woods, and then to be at Durham County General Hospital, which is now Duke Regional, by 8 a.m. And I called myself, I was director of psych nursing, and I called myself the chief second-class citizen in a patriarchal model. Because that was a long time ago, and that's what I was. And all the doctors and most of the administrators had wives at home who were taking the children to school, and doing the groceries and washing the car and all that. And if I was 2 minutes late to the ward meeting, the director, my boss, would stop talking. He would be in his crisp white lab coat, and he would stop the whole thing, and I'd have to walk to the farthest chair across the room. And while I was walking, he would go like that. So I hated to be late. This particular morning, not only did I have to drop my daughter off, but I had to take the dog to the vet, and he was in the back of the car, and I let my daughter out, and the dog got out of the car, and I started saying, I started at the top of my voice. And I don't know if any of you remember Bo Losoff. Bo Losoff, his son was in my daughter's class, and I felt Bo came up right there at my elbow and said, "May I help you?" Took me to a different place. That was a Tikkun Olam in that moment. He helped me get the dog peacefully back in the car and on my way. Another time, I was sitting on a colleague's doctoral committee as a peer. He was in my class, and he was studying some aspect of Buddhism. And one of the authorities that was on his committee was this well-known Buddhist monk. And to support my classmate and the committee, I had brought some nice, healthy, elegant treats, some nuts, some dried fruit, some cheese and crackers, and there are quite a little bit of containers and dishes. And we finished by lunchtime, and we were going to go celebrate the successful meeting. And I had all this stuff to pack up, and I didn't want to be late, and it was a lot of stuff, and I'm like packing up. And this Buddhist monk is right there at my elbow saying, "May I help you?" This humility, "May I help you?" He had his ride wait while he helped me pack up the food. Tikkun Olam. It's all about love. Catholic mystic Richard Rohr says, mystics have plumbed the depths of both suffering and love and emerged with depths of compassion for the world and a learned capacity to recognize God within themselves, in others, and in all things. Teresa of Avila says, "Since my beloved is for me and I for my beloved, who will be able to separate and extinguish two fires so enkindled? It would amount to laboring in vain, for the two fires have become one." We become one with that God presence in us. Elio Delio says, "Throw yourself into the spiritual fire of divine love, and everything you grasp for yourself will be destroyed until there is nothing left but the pure truth of yourself." Paula Darcy says, "Mystics and sages of all traditions speak of the inner fire, the divine spark hidden in our very cells and in all that lives. This flame of love is the pure presence of God." So I'm going to invite you to join me in a sacred ceremony of anointing. You will be anointed, if you choose, as Messiah. And I'm going to light a second candle to mark the beginning of this. And I'm going to ask you to get comfortable in your seats, putting away anything in your lap, putting it aside, taking a deep breath, pulling in that spirit that lives always there at the tip of your nose, uniting with that divine space inside. Many people experience it right behind the biological heart, that divine space that you are. And as you exhale, release any thoughts, beliefs, or feelings that come between you and knowing the divine that you are. Metaphysicist Robert Lanyon says the past is gone, burned. Without the smell of smoke, it's gone. We are here and now in the present, newborn, new beings in this moment. Breathing into that sacred space of yourself and feeling, just feeling whatever is there for you, that big love, life, vitality, energy, faith, strength, will, power, whatever is there for you in this precious moment, beginning now. Know yourself as the Divine One, the Holy One, the Anointed One. Spiritual teacher Dr. Jean Houston has said repeatedly, this is the most important time in the history of the human race. And those of us who have been called or volunteered to come and be here now have an important mission. Whatever our age, we are here now. And I don't know if other spiritual teachers have said this is the most important time, but they are saying this is a critical time in the history of the earth. And doesn't our world need repairing? And Reverend Carol Lund says, we're waking up. We're waking up. And our job is to wake up others, to bend the arc of human consciousness and justice and peace, bending it in the arc of love. And as you're ready, open your eyes. Look around you, our community of Messiahs ready to go into our annual meeting and to go out in the world with the conscious intention of repairing the world. Thank you.
Hi. If this video has inspired you, opened your heart, expanded your consciousness, filled you with hope, empowered you in some way, we encourage you to support what we offer here at Unity Center of Peace by making your donation now. And thank you.